What's up, Acadiana, and welcome to Offsides. I'm Shannon Wilkerson here with Brandon Comeaux. Thanks for joining us for today's broadcast. We'll be with you until 6 o'clock. It's currently 4:09 on what some people used to go. I don't hear the term hump day anymore. Remember, that used to be the big thing, hump day.
I hear Moon say it in the mornings, but other than that, no, not anybody else.
Okay, well, all right. Moon is the exception in so many ways
Yes,
for so many different topics.
Yes, he is.
Okay, so the world has moved on from hump day.
Yeah.
Moon is still there.
Moon is the throwback, man.
Yeah. Well, as I think we talked about in the recent past, once you get past lunch on Wednesday, then you're halfway home.
Right.
Okay, and so hope everybody's having a wonderful Wednesday out there. And that's another thing. You know how we've got these theme days now?
Uh-huh.
There's so many of them now.
Yeah.
And some people call Wednesday, it's way back Wednesday.
Yeah.
And then there's throwback Thursday.
Uh-huh.
And well, I can't remember the other ones. But anyway, great to see you this afternoon.
You too, man.
And so in our 4 o'clock hour, our conversation is going to once again center around President Donald Trump. And what this one is going to be about is he is now losing his star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. The city council in West Hollywood voted unanimously to take the star down. Now, they are claiming that it is not because of the vandalism, because people keep going and trashing the star, and they keep replacing it, and they trash it, and they replace it. And I must say that when this kept happening, and I didn't see any preventive methods taken by the city council to try to prevent this from happening. It was my opinion at the time that they were kind of just letting it happen so that they could use that. I'm kind of one of those conspiracy theorist people. Right. And I was thinking, they're going to let this happen so they can eventually just take it down. Yeah. And say, well, look, we're tired of paying to replace it. We're going to take it down. Well, I was wrong about that. They claim, and this is the Mayor John Durham, said that the vote was symbolic. He says, and I quote, "The West Hollywood City Council did not pass the resolution because Donald Trump is a conservative or Republican. Earning a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame is an honor. When one belittles and attacks minorities, immigrants, Muslims, people with disabilities, or women, the honor no longer exists." And so and there's a lot of hypocrisy there because I've got a list of other people that are still on the Walk of Fame that definitely fall under this description.
So before you get into that, when he said it was symbolic, or when you pointed out how symbolic, it is very symbolic, and here's one reason why. The star is actually not in West Hollywood. So basically the West Hollywood City Council passing a resolution, but yet they don't have any jurisdiction over the Hollywood star.
That's interesting.
Yes. And so, look, no one's star has ever been removed to date. And I know you're going to name some names over there as well. Let me name just one of them. Bill Cosby.
It's on my list.
Bill Cosby is one of them that, of course, we know the horrible things that he has done and been taken to court for. Convicted. But yet his star has not been removed, and many times people associated with the walk, with the the Walk of Fame, they have defended the use of his star and others being there. So this is probably something that's going to stay symbolic in the fact that this council is saying, we don't like Donald Trump, and look at the person he is, and the Me Too movement, and they actually cited a couple of examples. They cited the 2005 recording with Access Hollywood with Billy Bush, where he said, "Grab him by the They also cited the zero tolerance policy at the border. But they don't have any jurisdiction in this situation.
Yeah, that's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. You mentioned Bill Cosby.
Right.
To bring up a few more currently, Kevin Spacey.
Yep.
Kevin Spacey is still out there, okay? And Anthony Rapp, who was an actor on Star Trek Discovery, claims that Spacey made sexual advances in 1986 when he was 14. Then 15 men came forward making the same accusation. So that is another one. Schwarzenegger is still there. In 2003, 6 women came out alleging that Schwarzenegger was constantly groping them, and they made these accusations against him.
He also cheated on his wife with the housemaid, remember?
And they had a child.
Yes.
A few that I haven't really heard of. Brett Ratner was a film producer and a director. He received the star in 2017. Ratner was accused of rape by a former talent agency employee. Then 6 more women accused him of rape. There's a lot of, there's a big list of them. Charlie Sheen is one of them. Lots of women have come forward making the claim that he gave them HIV, knowingly carrying the disease, and still had unprotected sex with them, putting them all at risk of contracting HIV. There's okay, how about Jerry Lee Lewis? Remember him?
Yeah.
Okay. Jerry Lee Lewis was 22 years old. He got married to a 13-year-old.
Oh, I never realized
how about that? Another one I hadn't heard of before, Roscoe Fatty Arbuckle. All right. He was a silent film star in the 1920s, and he was accused of brutally raping and killing actress Virginia Rappe. So, you know, there are few. We have a lot more here that we'll talk about, and there are other walks of fame and such that include people. Another one that stands out to me because I find him particularly annoying is Jimmy Kimmel. Jimmy Kimmel has his star on the Walk of Fame. We never hear any outrage about Jimmy Kimmel and The Man Show.
Oh, I know, yeah.
Okay, The Man Show is a show that he used to do, and it was kind of like jaywalking.
Yeah.
All right, they would go out on the street with a camera, and they would really make these very suggestive recommendations and different things with women.
Yeah.
Very sexual in nature. And basically, if that's anybody else would have been doing that, they would have been labeled a sexist.
Oh yeah.
And so there's another one. It really kind of goes on, and I think that this is obviously just another example of the hypocrisy in Hollywood and how they take care of their own. All right, and they really don't care about the facts of the accusations against their own, the people in their little fraternity or sorority, and they turn a blind eye. I would like to say this. There have been no charges against Donald Trump for any of these accusations. And the whole thing at the with immigration at the border, if that's part of their argument, well, they've got a bigger argument with the government because, hey, Donald Trump didn't create those laws.
Absolutely. 232-1542. All right. Well, we'll go to the Cajun Early Hotline because I see some people trying to get in. Caller, you're on the air. Go ahead.
Hey, how's it going, guys?
Good. Hey.
So, you guys do a great job highlighting the hypocrisy in Hollywood.
Thank you.
And it's pretty telling that they go to the same talking points that these liberal pundits like Don Lemon and stuff go to, you know, like, oh, he's racist, oh, he says all these bad things about minorities and women. But then you notice in that list, it basically includes everybody except the white men. So then we're back to the exact same thing with the New York Times new editorial lady. And it just highlights the divisiveness that Hollywood is promulgating. And I guess my biggest question would be, are they going to refund Donald Trump for his star? Because those things are not cheap.
40 grand.
Like 2,000.
They cost
40 grand?
It's 40 grand.
That's expensive. They better refund him his money if they're going to revoke his star. You know what I'm saying?
I agree completely, and I would love to see him. Now, I don't know if he can do this as a seated president. All right, I don't know that I don't think a seated president can bring a lawsuit, a personal lawsuit against anybody or a municipality. But I would love to see him file a lawsuit against them to recover that money. Good point.
Yeah. Well, great show, guys.
Thank you very much.
All right, 232-1542. Yeah, there are definitely some requirements for celebrities to get Hollywood stars. As a matter of fact, for one thing, they have to approve the nomination. Julia Roberts, Robert Redford, Dustin Hoffman do not have stars on the walk. They didn't approve those stars to be on there.
Now, I wonder who is that's making that decision when you say whether or not it's approved.
Yeah.
Who is the council, I guess, or the academy?
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't seen an official name for them. I guess the Walk of Fame Council.
The Walk of Fame, yeah, exactly. How do I apply for that job?
So basically, each nomination must include a list of qualifications and awards, contributions to the community, a biography under 5 pages, and Again, $40,000, which goes toward creating, installing, and maintaining the star.
Yeah, that's a lot of money, man.
232-1542, back to the Cajun Harley hotline. Caller, you're up. Go ahead.
Yeah, if this is really all about the treatment of women, and that was their underlying and sole purpose of this whole taking his star away from him. I mean, this is a real statistic. 98% of all porn is made in California. And they're grabbing those women by the you-know-what and all kind of you-know-where else's. So I don't want to hear it. California, it's to the point, they make all of these crazy movies, violence, womanizing. I mean, of course, it's just a movie, but yet they say that all these other problems are created by all these other fake things. So I guess a fake movie couldn't make things go bad either, I guess. So
I guess. Well, then there's always the term, many people are familiar with the term, the casting couch. And that's basically, alludes to women when they wanted to get a part, they would go to the director or the producer or somebody affiliated making the decision, and they would be expected to have sex to be able to get the part on the couch in the office. Thus the term casting couch.
And of course, in the case of Harvey Weinstein, the casting couch allegedly went into hotel rooms and wherever he wanted it. Yeah.
I hate to be laughing.
I know.
Some of those stories, that guy opened, that guy opening the door in his bathrobe. All right.
232-1542. Caller, you're up. Go ahead. I don't want to think about that.
I don't either, but it happened.
I know. Caller, go ahead.
So, who voted to revoke his star?
The West Hollywood City Council.
Right. And you might as well just say Guadalajara did. His star is not in West Hollywood.
I know. They have no jurisdiction.
I mean, how ignorant. So Mexico doesn't want him to have a star either. So they can vote too, for all that means.
Yeah. We could do it here in Lafayette.
Yep. Thank you, caller. All right, 232-1542. We'll take this first break of the 4 o'clock hour. When we come back, more of your calls as we continue talking about the Hollywood Walk of Fame and the star. Some people want it removed, but we'll see how far that. Welcome back into Offsides. Brandon and Shannon, News Talk 96.5 KPL. Increasing cloudiness outside right now. Looks like we might get another situation where the rain starts while people are getting off of work. If so, please drive carefully. We've been talking about the Hollywood Walk of Fame and the controversy after the West Hollywood City Council voted unanimously to remove President Trump's star. Problem is, they don't have any jurisdiction in the area to be able to do so.
Yeah. Why don't we just have the vote here in Lafayette, as I was mentioning at the end of the last segment. And instead of voting on deconsolidation vote, we can make a decision for a completely different jurisdiction that we have no authority. But I tell you, I think that this definitely puts the proper council on notice that they need to do the same thing. Because now, if they don't, they are going to be taking a stand that they are going to be protecting President Trump and that they are disagreeing with the Fed. So the point is, if they do nothing, if the right city council does nothing now, they are going to actually be viewed as if they are taking a stand against what West Hollywood did.
Absolutely. And as a matter of fact, there was some audio that I came across earlier from the Los Angeles mayor, Eric Garcetti. Now, you mentioned the mayor earlier. What city was that mayor over?
That was in West Hollywood.
Oh, so that was in West Hollywood.
Yeah, John Durham.
Okay. And he basically, echoed what the board had to say. What was interesting was TMZ caught up with the Los Angeles mayor, Eric Garcetti, to talk about the Hollywood Walk of Fame and Trump's star.
Donald Trump's star from the Walk of Fame?
Look, I think we should be focused less on sidewalk brawls and more on replacing a Congress that enables him.
Right.
That's where we put our energy in. Every moment we're out there fighting these fights or just on our Twitter feed are moments we could be registering voters and actually flipping this Congress, and that's where I'm going to spend my energy.
I know you called it a sidewalk sideshow. Yeah. What exactly is the sideshow?
Look, this whole politics has turned into a circus, and it's back and forth. The more we get trapped into playing their games of yelling back and forth and symbolic gestures, I'm into real work, and right now he's really doing bad things, whether it's for the environment and the fires we have, whether it's immigrants, whether it's for our economy. This is somebody who we need to make sure in November we send a message to.
But the West Hollywood City Council...
Wait a minute. So Trump started the fires now.
He started the fires in
Trump
California.
started the fires in California. They will stick him with any label that they can, try to hold him responsible for any problem that they have. But I'll tell you, judging by his answer, I don't think they're going to do anything.
No, I don't think
he didn't say we were going to report. Now, he did take a stand and say we need to act against him, but we should act in a more responsible way. But it sounded to me like he was saying that he wasn't going to support taking it down. Well, otherwise, he had the perfect form right there to say, yes, we're going to take it down. We just haven't addressed it
because he's playing the perfect politician. As a matter of fact, there's just a little bit more left to what he had to say as well.
All right.
Because we had to stop it once he started blaming Trump for the wildfires in California. I'm sorry, those have been happening for years and years.
Yeah.
But what he did is instead, he's played it like a politician. Instead of coming out and saying, you know what, we don't need that to happen. He can't, or we do need to be able to take the star down. What he came out and said, well, we've got bigger issues. We got bigger things to do. And then this is what he further on had to insinuate.
Council is going to send you a letter for consideration, and they voted to remove it.
And they're my friends, and they're the neighboring area, but we're Hollywood and we're LA.
Well, what is your decision going to be, or your recommendation?
We don't have jurisdiction there. That's something. It's a historic cultural monument. So like it or hate it, you know, it's there to stay. I'm going to make sure I send a stronger message than a star. We're going to replace some of his friends in Congress.
So you're not going to recommend that they remove it?
We can't. That's something that's protected.
They told you that like 3 times.
Mark Hamill suggested putting Carrie Fisher's star there instead.
Yeah, that would be a beautiful thing. We love Carrie Fisher.
Yeah.
I can think of a lot of better stars. I say do what we should do. Ignore it, walk by it, and go do some good work.
Right. Hey, are you running for president in 2020?
Here we go.
Right now, I'm just focused on being mayor.
You must have given it consideration, though.
I'm thinking about it. I've said I'm thinking about it, but not until long after we do the congressional races. I'll look at that after. But let's remember, Donald Trump's not on the ballot, but a Congress that enables him is. So let's make a change there.
Do you think it's...
Wow.
Will this guy run for president?
I don't know. You know, there's going to be such a long... In the next campaign, the list of people is going to be so extensive. And it's likely going to be very entertaining.
Yeah.
All right, let's go to the phone line.
232-1542 caller, you're up. Go ahead.
Oh my God, Donald Trump the arsonist. Donald Trump the arsonist. Help, help. The Russians help us start the California wildfires. Ah! God have mercy. The delusion of Los Angeles and all of Hollywood. You see exactly firsthand where these people live at as far as their own world is concerned. And now you can see exactly why it's hard. Like conservatives like Tim Allen, Denzel Washington, and all them have a hard time coming out and actually saying with the support, well, hey, I'm a conservative. It's because of these things like this. Look, I'm personally pretty sure that Donald Trump could care less what happens to that star.
Oh, I agree. I think that he is laughing at them. And I don't think that he cares at all.
Is. Oh, he is. You can bet it to the bank. Matter of fact, I'm pretty sure if he wants, he's probably still giving money to that Walk of Fame just to kind of help get that thing always cleaned up or whatever. I'm not sure if he does, but it would be nice if he does that. But like I said, the delusion that these people live in the hypocrisy, and you're not going to get rid of Bill Cosby. Look, I loved Bill Cosby for years. I was sorely disappointed to hear about what happened. Guys like Charlie Sheen and all of them, and even Kevin Spacey. I always liked Kevin Spacey as an actor. But to hear him and what he's did, his definitely should have went out the window the second that he admitted to the accusations that was against him. That should have been a done deal. But they're never, ever going to do anything. This whole thing with Trump, and look, it's immigration that they're worried about over there. It's all their fault. They keep attacking ICE up over there. They keep attacking ICE, and they keep saying, oh, we're going to keep ICE out of the whole equation because, you know, we need to have all our people come in, open borders. But everybody open it wide up for everybody, no accountability, no vetting of these people, no nothing. And look, I come from a family line of immigrants, but hello, this is our country.
All right, man.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Whew, he had a lot of
I know, man. You got to come up for air sooner or later, man.
All right, caller.
Good to hear from him, though.
All right, caller, you're on the air. Go ahead.
Hey, guys, I want to take it back to the reason why they wanted their excuse for taking the star off. And, of course, it's full of hypocrisy and lies, and I get tired of the lies. And, you know, if you, a lot of people don't understand how Donald Trump speaks. You know, he never speaks in complete sentences. He's kind of all over the place. He's hard to follow sometimes. And once you kind of get his pattern of speech, you understand him a little bit better. And I'm sorry about the phone in the background. I'm working. But
That's
anyway,
okay.
Anyway, what I was going to say was, if you recall, he said in this locker room tape that was, you know, just guy talk in the locker room. Guys talk like that sometimes. And you know, some may not admit that. But, you know, he said, hey, you know what? I'm attracted to beautiful women. I like to kiss them. Sometimes I can't help myself. And then he said, you know, when you're a big star like me, or a big star period, he said, you can get away with about anything. You can grab their hoo-ha or whatever he said. You know, the thing is, though, he never said that he himself did that or made unwanted advances or whatever. He just said what we already know, which is that when you're a big-time, powerful person, whether it's Bill Clinton or whether it's a movie producer or a movie star or whoever, you get away with a lot of stuff that you shouldn't be doing.
Let me tell you, remember Henry Kissinger? Kissinger said that power is the greatest aphrodisiac. And so that's a good example of it right there. And you know what I found to be odd is when he said that, when the tape came out of him saying what you just alluded to, when he said that he grabbed them, I didn't see this big list of women that came forward and said that he did that. That's what I expected. When I heard it, I said, oh, wow. Boy, there's going to be women coming out of the woodwork saying, he did that to me. What he described, he did that to me. And that didn't happen. So, you know, he was maybe just showing off. Maybe he did do it and they just didn't want to tell anybody. I don't know. But I found it unusual, or at least I was surprised that we didn't have a big list of women that came forward and accused him of doing what he admitted to doing.
All right. Thank you, sir. We'll take this quick commercial break.
A lot of phone calls. What we're talking about right now is Donald Trump's star on the Walk of Fame. Apparently, West Hollywood City Council made a unanimous decision to remove it. Only problem is that's not their jurisdiction. So I think that they're maybe calling out the proper county and their city council that they want to do, that they should be doing this. And I think that this is going to draw obviously even more attention to the whole argument there. And now you're going to, if they don't remove it, here's a little Shannon prediction. I'm looking into the Shannon crystal ball, thank you, of the future. You're going to start having massive protests there. Okay, people are going to protest it. They're already destroying it, but they're going to start protesting the fact that they didn't take it down.
Yeah, and so on Twitter, you've been having tweeters taunting the president with the Walk of Fame star replacement ideas. So there's been some ideas of who they believe should replace Donald Trump or President Trump. Rosie O'Donnell's name being put out there. God. Of course, we know why for that one. Also, Don Lemon with CNN. Yeah. He's come at Trump a few times. Also, of course, President Obama. Now, there's only one other president that has a star, which, of course, we all know is Reagan. Yeah. The movie star that he was before. And then the most popular name, and you heard the mayor of L.A. talk about it, is Carrie Fisher. Everybody wants Carrie Fisher now on the
then give
Walk
these
of Fame.
give these people their stars. You know, the whole star thing is
so silly.
Is so stupid. All right, what does that mean? You got a star on the ground. People walk on your name.
Yeah, they walk on your name.
What is it? You know, does this mean you're a better person? You know, these people in Hollywood, they really are childish in many ways, especially mentally. And I'll tell you why. Because they spend their entire lives, the basis of the success of their career is based on them being able to pretend to be other people. Okay, that's what they do. They spend their entire lives pretending to be these imaginary characters. Well, that's what you do when you're a child. Remember, like cowboys and Indians,
right?
Cops and robbers. You pretended to be other people, and I think that obviously doing it over a period of decades really affects them, because now, as good as they are at it, and they spend many of them spend months and months preparing to be in these roles, and they never break character. No. They live as that person, as that lead character that they are playing for months at a time. Well, look, man, when you do that time after time, you don't know who the hell you are.
Yeah, 232-1542. Before we go to the phone lines, I think you'll find this interesting. There's only one person on the Hollywood Walk of Fame whose star you cannot step on.
All right.
Muhammad Ali
Nice.
He made at his request. You cannot step on his star. Only one.
But but what happens if you do? Some alarm go off and the Walk of Fame police jump out and pounce on you, maybe they'll make an arrest.
Maybe they'll play an audio recording of him like trash talking you.
Yeah, that would be good.
All right, we go to the Cajun Harley hotline. Caller, you're up. Go ahead.
Okay, so this is a crying shame that adults have to change the rules as they go along so they can have their way. It's ridiculous. But I have a couple of points, and then I'm about to stay focused. So first of all these liberals that hate Trump, I promise you, when he was on The Apprentice and all his other shows, they were all watching him every week and probably TiVo'd him.
Which is what got him his accomplishments with the Celebrity Apprentice and, of course, with the Miss America pageant. That's some of the qualifications that led to him getting the big star.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they just don't like that he's not their puppet and they can't control him. The other thing that I've noticed is everybody always says how Trump is so derogatory towards women. I don't find that at all. I find that he has surrounded himself by several women. You have Sanders, you have Nikki Haley, you have his daughter, you have his wife. His wife had her own business and is very intelligent.
He even gave Omarosa a shot until she messed that up.
Yeah, right.
It's true. She was in the White House for a while, but that lady can't get along with other people, man.
That's part of it.
Yeah.
But I mean, then you have like Sanders and then the Department of Education. Is it DeVos?
Oh, Betsy DeVos.
He's got all these women surrounding him that are in very powerful positions, and all of his companies too. He actually. I just don't understand the whole women thing. And then when they say that he talks very negatively about other people, the only thing he does is he calls out people who are doing wrong. All he's doing is he calls out people who are doing wrong.
Hey, the truth hurts. All right.
Yes.
And that's the deal. All right. He just speaks the truth about these people. He calls them out for what they're doing, just like you described. And all he's doing is speaking the truth, and they don't like that.
And what he's saying is like, look, we got to get rid of these people who are committing crimes, whether it's at the border, whether it's gangs, or whether it's in the hoods. It doesn't matter because these people are hurting the law-abiding citizens that they're suppressing. Mm-hmm. So he's actually standing up for the little man, and all the jobs that he saved. And then the last thing is, all the women who came out about Trump, mm-hmm. They bragged about being with him. Oh, this was consensual. All of them said it. Oh, yeah, I was with him, but it was because I wanted to be. Mm-hmm. All the women who came out about Clinton, it was because they did not want to be.
Yeah,
but yet everybody's going to praise Clinton and you're going to bash Trump. Is this not distorted?
It's very distorted, and distortion is the perfect way to describe it. And listen, this isn't going to go away. It's just going to be one thing after another, at least for the next 2 years, perhaps for the next 6 years, depending on what happens in the next campaign. But I think that what happens in November of this year is going to be very significant, because if the Democrats do not win some significant seats and take control, what you're seeing right now is going to be nothing.
Yeah.
And then if he runs for re-election and gets re-elected, what you're seeing right now is going to be nothing. It's going to be chaos. It's going to be a modern version of anarchy in the streets. The protests that we are seeing right now are going to be minute compared to what we see then. They are going to go. If you think they're crazy and they've lost their mind now, just wait.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, caller.
Thank you.
All right, 232-1542. Caller, you're up. Go ahead.
Is it me?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Hey, how's it going, gentlemen?
Good.
All right, listen. This is my take on the whole thing, okay?
Mm-hmm.
As much as these liberals, as hard as they are pushing,
mm-hmm.
don't they realize that there's going to be some pushback?
Well, there hasn't been. No, they don't realize it because there's very little pushback. You know, when you see these now recently, I did see some footage of some protesters that came to protest Antifa. All right. And there was a big clash in the street. But I respectfully respond by telling you, no, I don't think they're going to see any pushback. They may see some pushback in the voting booth.
And that's what I was about to get to.
But they're not going to see any pushback on the street. They haven't yet. Why should that change? You know why? Because all these people that would be pushing back, they have jobs, they have lives. They can't afford to be arrested.
Exactly. Yeah, they don't want to mess up the life that they have.
Yes.
So why fight with someone that's acting like an idiot?
Right.
But then where you can beat them where it hurts them the most, the voting booth.
Yeah.
And that's what's happening. And I think that's what's frustrating them more than anything. And I think, Shannon, you're right about the fact that, look, what's going on right now, people better protect themselves if November turns out the way that Democrats don't want it, and especially the next presidential election.
Man, it's going to be a mess. And I think that I'm really curious to see what happens in November, but it wouldn't surprise me if the Republicans gain even more seats. This makes people mad.
Yeah, it does.
All right. This is very similar in many ways. It's parallel to the comments, the deplorable comments that Hillary made. That made people mad. And I think that this behavior is making voters that much more mad. I don't think that anything that these protests and these people that are trashing the Hollywood Walk of Fame, like anybody gives a damn about it in the first place. I don't think that does anything but even solidify the Trump campaign and the followers even that much more. Thank you.
I mean, where's this blue wave? I don't see no blue wave coming. I'm giggling at the prospect that there's going to be a blue wave. As much as these people are sabotaging themselves, I don't see a blue wave coming. You know,
and what's funny is the way that they're losing these elections lately too, by these razor-thin margins in areas they thought they were going to win.
Yeah,
and
it's close.
And some of these razor-thin margins, though, help lead to an overall Republican majority. It's just kind of funny to watch.
Yeah, and what is even more funny is that when they do lose these elections, they say that that the Republicans cheated.
Oh yeah, well look,
it's the Russians. The Russians made this happen.
Well, and what was Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, the one we've been talking about? She tried to go dip her toe in some of these elections in the Midwest. People aren't really responding to her there. She won in an area. She won a primary in an area that is heavily Democrat. Okay, go to Middle America where a lot of these elections are happening. They're not heavy Democrat areas.
Right.
You know, they're not liberal bastions here in this country. And so that's why some of those socialistic ideas, they're not taking off quite as much as I think some people on the left are hoping that they will.
Well, I tell you, these people these self-proclaimed socialists, democratic socialists, I think that they are shooting themselves in the foot. They're doing it. They're going further to the left in an effort to try to gain more votes. And they are gaining some votes, but very few of them. And I think that they are pushing others away from the people that are in the middle. I think they're getting away from it.
All right, real quick break, and we'll be right back to wrap up the 4 o'clock.
Welcome back to Offsides, everybody. So we're talking the whole hour about Donald Trump, President Donald Trump, and how West Hollywood City Council has voted unanimously to remove his star from the Walk of Fame. Problem is they don't have jurisdiction there, and they cannot really make that choice. And I really don't think that President Trump really cares about this at all. I think that he's laughing at the whole thing. But it has kind of spawned off into a conversation that we have here a lot, is that, the hatred for this man is so deep and so intense by some people. However, the support for him is just as tenacious. Yeah. The people that really like him, they are never going to change their minds. The people that really hate them, they are never going to change their mind. It wouldn't matter what he did. If he went to them and said, okay, give me a list of 10 of the most important things you want me to do as president, and they gave him a list, and he said, okay, I'm going to do all 10, they would still hate on him.
Yeah, I think as all of the polarization has continued, as all the heat has risen in this situation throughout the country, I think all you're doing is you're seeing more of the polarization as far as the two sides that are becoming more and more visible. So, look, I mean, for those liberals that think that just by shouting somebody down in an argument or in a discussion or whatever is winning, you're not winning because you're losing at the voting booth, which is the most important battleground of all. All right, we go back to the Cajun Harley hotline. Caller, you're on the air. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think Shannon really hit on it with no matter what the man does, it's not going to matter. They're going to find a way to say something bad about him. But what I wanted to say was, for the past 5 years, I've been a registered independent. So I'm also in the medical field. So in the medical field, we're judged on an outcome-based merit. So if our outcomes are poor, we're judged poorly. So I tend to vote that way, and I tend to judge my politics that way. But what the problem with the liberals is they come with arguments that are emotionally based and not outcomes based. It doesn't matter all of the positive things that has happened since he's taken office. It doesn't matter. They're going to argue on an emotional based system instead of an outcomes based system. He can, cure cancer, and they're going to, hate on him for putting doctors out of work,
Yeah, no, that's right. Or they're going to claim that he has some type of a financial gain, set up down the road after he gets out of office where he's going to benefit for curing cancer, or some investment that he's making in the company that came up with the technology. But there's no winning.
Thank you, caller.
Thank you, caller.
All right, 232-1542. Let's see if we can get a couple more in before the top of the hour. Caller, you're up. Go ahead.
Hey, guys, what's so important is that if the Democrats get the House or the Senate or either one, I can virtually see that they're going to be pushing for a change in the way we elect our president from they wanted the popular vote. And what's going to happen is you're going to have California and New York, basically electing the president every year. So that's what they're going to be pushing for. Yeah. And if Donald Trump gets reelected as president, you're talking about the craziness could happen. I can almost see where if you have somebody who won the popular vote, if Trump doesn't get the popular vote and still elected president, well, you could have half the nation supporting another guy and Trump actually being your president. And it sounds a lot like, to me, what happened, during the wars that we've had, through the Civil War, where you have two different support groups. Hey, we support this guy. We support this guy.
Yeah, I hear you. Well, I tell you, if they do gain control, you're right. I think that that's going to be one of the things on their agenda. But I believe that in addition to that, the first thing that there's going to be on their agenda is to push some type of impeachment.
Yeah, I think impeachment is the more realistic.
Yeah.
We actually talked about that, and Shannon, you were out that day. We talked about how hard it is to try to switch the presidency from an electoral vote, electoral college vote, to a popular vote. In the sense, there's a lot of things that have to go on. It has to be changed within the Constitution.
It's not going to happen.
I don't think it's going to happen. I don't underestimate the movement.
They'll try.
But there's a lot to it, and it benefits. Really, the electoral vote, it benefits a two-party system. If you were to get into a popular vote situation that would help to kind of dispel the two-party system, you'd basically have people that would run from, not just the Green Party, which they were upset about the Green Party in one of these races taking away votes, but you'd have all these different parties that were made up that would put candidates up, and then you'd have someone that may win the presidency with even less of a majority vote.
That's right.
And so that's an unintended consequence of switching to a popular vote.
It's not likely to happen at all.
It's not.
Okay. But what is likely to happen is an aggressive push for impeachment.
I think that will happen.
Yes. I mean, they will be very aggressive with that. And that's very risky.
232-1542. All right, caller, you're on the air. Go ahead.
Hey, thank you for taking my call. Quick, I got a comment. I'd rather be president than have a store. And why Morning Joe, then people can't take Trump on MSNBC? They just can't handle Trump. Mika and Joe, man, they cry every morning about Donald Trump.
So I take it you watch it just for amusement?
Yes, I do. I really do.
I do that. I do that. I'll put on MSNBC sometimes, and just to I guess for entertainment, but just to see, it's just as important. And this is why I remain friends with a lot of people that I know on Facebook that have a completely different opinion of mine, because it is good to get the information from the other side. Now, some of it is lunacy, all right, but not all of it. They're not all lunatics, but it's good to go over there and see what they have to say.
Thank you, caller. All right, well, we're going to go ahead and take a break. We've got news at the top of the hour, weather and traffic as well. You're listening to Offsides. Brandon and Shannon, News Talk 96.5 KPEL.
What's up, Acadiana, and welcome to Offsides. I'm Shannon Wilkerson, here with Brandon Comeaux. Thanks for joining us for today's broadcast. We'll be with you until 6 o'clock. It's currently 5:07. Got a little cloud cover going on outside, and we appreciate you joining us for today's broadcast. And so what we're going to talk about today in the 5 o'clock hour is that today, as many people know, mostly parents, is the first day of school. And so the buses are out there and everybody's getting their supplies and getting the clothes and spending a lot of money. And a lot of children are very sad and a lot of parents are very happy. And so, but one of the things that Brandon and I wanted to discuss, and of course we would invite your feedback at 232-1542, is what class would you want the high schools to have? And I guess it doesn't have to be. We don't want to restrict it to high school. But what class do you think should be offered, whether it is a real class or something that you are creating yourself, that you believe should be offered to the school, offered to the students, or maybe even made mandatory? I'll start off and I'll tell you one of the things. I've got a good list. I've got a pretty significant list here.
Right.
I think that civics should be a mandatory class. It should be required for students to have a basic knowledge of how our government works, how it's structured before they graduate from high school. Because there are so many people that really don't understand it. They really don't have a grasp on it. And civics used to be a standard course.
Yeah.
And I think that civics would lend itself to be very significant in giving the young people of today the knowledge that they lack. Because, everybody is so opinionated, especially when it comes to politics. I mean, so many of our conversations here on Offsides all come back around to politics.
Right.
Because it's all you hear about now. It's the only thing on the news. And so now more than ever, I think that it is important for young people to have a real understanding of what our government is, how it works, the structure of it, instead of just complaining about the president.
Well, and I agree, especially when you have politicians that are constantly coming out and calling our country a democracy when we're not a democracy. That annoys me so much, and it's also indicative, I think, of how many times adults are failing our kids when it comes to education and knowing things outside of the school setting. I agree with you completely on civics. I think, as much as I enjoyed history in high school, civics was not exactly a fun subject to learn, but I knew, and it was something that would help me to be able to have a better conversation, whether it was understanding or actually being able to talk back and forth with an adult. As someone that was learning civics in high school, talking with those that are a little bit more politically minded than I was back then, being able to have a conversation with them about it, understand what they're saying, and feel like I was getting respect from them because of the civics education that I had.
Yeah, well, it's very it's really good common ground.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay? Between adults and young adults or children, adolescents, teenagers, because once you have the knowledge of how the government works, and I have to confess, I didn't take civics in high school, but I will also say that my mother is very involved in politics, and I got a very good education from her on how it all works. I still do on a regular basis, just for the record, okay? No, but I mean, because and she made me very interested in the political field at a young age and so on. But yes, you make a good point that it gives young people the knowledge to be able to be involved in a real conversation with people, with their elders, and really know what they're talking about. When a young person expresses their opinions about politics, all too often they really don't know what they're talking about.
And it pains me when I hear it,
Oh,
too.
yeah, it is painful.
Yeah, 232-1542. We're going to go to the phone lines in just a minute. Again, what are some classes that you believe should be mandatory in school, especially high school, but in school overall? I'll present one, money management. We, unfortunately, as debt continues to grow, see, it used to be credit card debt. Now it's student loan debt. That's even surpassed that. And so, unfortunately, we see a lot of younger people that are growing up that have no idea how to manage their money. And I think that's very sad as well. And I think that is right up there with civics, because when you're allowing yourself to get in debt, unfortunately, you become like a slave to it. And unfortunately, sometimes if you, I'll give you an example. There are some political candidates that have campaigned on student loan debt and saying, hey, well, we'll just forgive all your student loan debt And they actually were able to get votes like that because some people were naive enough to believe that.
Yeah.
Well, having an understanding of civics and politics and having a good understanding of money management helps make you less likely to become one of those sheeple, one of those people that gets easily taken advantage of
you're
by
less
others.
vulnerable when you have the knowledge.
Exactly.
And so I agree with you. I love the idea of money management, and you bring up some good points. It used to be a lot of credit card debt. Now it's switched over to student loan debt, and it's because student loan debt is so easy to accumulate. All you have to do is fill it. There's no question about whether or not you get the loan.
Yeah.
It's just a question of how much. At least when you apply for a credit card, you need to establish some type of credit before they will give you the credit card. And so, yes, I think that young people don't have a real understanding of what debt means.
Yeah.
Because they have grown up not lacking anything. They want for nothing.
Right.
And so I think that having some money management skills are crucial.
Well, and look, there were some people that I know that believed President Obama when he said, well, we'll forgive your student loan debt.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, that never happened. Also, I think when you're looking at this, if these students are taught in school, hey, look, this is how they figure out the interest with these student loans and how they get you trapped for decades. This is how interest when you're dealing with credit cards. I think it would make people, maybe in the situation of credit cards, we've had a conversation about that. I like credit cards. If you use them properly, you make them work well for you.
Well, you need credit.
Some people need them.
Okay.
But when it comes to like student loans and other areas, if you know more about them and how they work, it'll make you less likely maybe to go in that route.
Oh, I agree completely.
All right, 232-1542. Let's go to the Cajun Harley hotline. We know you've got some good recommendations. Caller, you're on the air. Go ahead.
Afternoon, guys.
Hey.
I think they ought to bring back industrial arts.
Yeah, I remember. I took industrial arts.
That was great. I learned woodworking in there, and I didn't go to college when I graduated. I became a carpenter, and I did that for 25 years. And I learned all my basics from that class. And it teaches, it teaches everybody a skill. They call it shop nowadays, I guess. But
Well, a lot of them don't even have it now.
Yeah.
And what I like and I took industrial arts, and I remember the class very well, and I enjoyed it. But what I liked about it is that it taught you a basic knowledge of how to work with your hands. And it also taught you a basic knowledge of how to work with tools. And it also, most significantly, it taught you to learn respect for safety.
Yeah.
Okay, because I remember that was a big deal in my industrial arts classes, learning the safety precautions. Because, listen, power tools can be very risky and very dangerous if you don't use them properly.
But, boy, they can be a lot of fun when you are able to use them properly.
Oh, yeah.
Man.
Good
All
one,
right,
caller. Thank you.
All right, 232-1542, a chop saw. That's one of my favorite power tools.
A chop saw is fun.
All right, we go back.
I like a nail gun.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, nail guns are good. All right, 232-1542. Caller, you're on the air. Go ahead.
A basic home economics class, guys.
Oh, there you go.
I mean, it just basic skills such as cooking, taking care of your family, property taxes. Kids nowadays have no concept of property taxes or taxes in general.
That's a good one.
You guys picked up two good things on civics and those type things as well, credit card debt, but just a basic home economics class to teach these kids life skills.
Yeah, very good. Thank you.
Thank you, caller. All right, 232-1542. We're taking your suggestions here on Offsides. Caller, you're up. Go ahead.
I went to Comeaux High School in the 80s and graduated in 1990. And I took civics twice because I was such a slacker, I just didn't do any work while I was there. But I took civics with Coach Washington, and I remember having a small debate where communism looked better to me, because I was a kid, I didn't know any better.
Right.
And he had a real debate with me in class and opened my eyes how things that look good on paper don't take into account human experience. Well, I had to repeat the class, and I had Mr. Faulkner, and he was a great storyteller. And he would have you writing this big essay that he put on the projector while he told a story. And he educated more people in that class that were just kind of throwaways. It was the basic class, and let me tell you, he gave me a sound civic lesson. Also, home economics, took that as an elective, well, because that's where all the girls were. But we don't teach critical thinking. We don't teach economics in school to these children. And they really don't have any idea money is and how it's created and what backs it up and how the world functions. It seems to be purposely done that way. I don't know.
Well, it's sad because the schools aren't teaching them. The parents aren't teaching them.
It's really bad. That's why you got these kids, oh, man, socialism's great. Guess what? If that wasn't for Coach Washington, I might have thought that for a little while longer.
Yeah. Well, it's easy to be liberal when you're young. All right, that's the thing. It's easy to have an attitude or an opinion that things like socialism or communism could be good for us because it levels the playing field. Everybody's equal. But that's when you are young and you haven't been exposed to the realities of life and you haven't been exposed to working hard to get ahead. And, life isn't always fair. In fact, it rarely is fair.
Well, and I think the caller hit it on the head when he made the comment about these ideas, communism. They can sound good on paper, but when you put them in a real-life setting with real-life situations, that's where they come up short.
Yeah.
Thank you, caller. All right, 232-1542. Getting some more calls from you, some more suggestions on classes you'd like to see being taught in the school system. We'll be right back.
Time to call in the experts. It's the J&J Pest of the Day.
All right, so we head back to the island of Hawaii. We actually did one there the other day as well.
Yeah.
A woman is in trouble with the law in Honolulu for allegedly pounding a stranger in the head with a can of food.
It's not exactly clear what sparked the violence, but officers say she went up to the suspect on Sunday night near a business and started slamming him with the can.
He ended up in the hospital with a concussion as well as cuts on his hands and face.
Officers say the suspect and the victim do not know each other, but assault charges are in the works. So, the can-wielding crazy lady from Hawaii is your J&J exterminating pest of the day.
And welcome back to Offsides. 85 degrees, sunny conditions here at the Cape L News Center. And we're talking today about classes that we believe should be mandatory in school. And we've been getting some great suggestions from listeners. So let's go back to the Cajun Harley hotline right now. Get some more callers in. All right, caller, you're on the air. Go ahead.
The previous caller said it briefly. Critical thinking.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a great suggestion. Maybe. I can't decide.
Thank you, caller. All right. 232-1542. Shannon, did you have one you wanted to mention?
I have one. I think that this is significant. I think that it should be mandatory for students to pass a speech class because all too often, young people now, they don't know how to speak. They mumble terribly. They don't know how to use the right grammar. They don't know how to put together a reasonable sentence. They cannot communicate. And along with speech, I would partner that with basic communication skills, because as technology advances, and we've had many shows about smartphones, text messaging, right here on Offsides, young people are losing they're not losing it. They are never developing reasonable communication skills. They don't know how to speak to one another. They don't know how to carry on a conversation, and they've got very poor grammar. And they mumble terribly. Mumbling now has become the norm. That becomes the standard. I don't understand how they can understand what they're saying to one another when they do speak. And so I would like to see speech to be a significant part of the curriculum for every high school graduating senior. I want them coming out of school knowing how to talk to one another and being able to use the words properly and being able to speak clearly.
All right, 232-1542. So, all right, so let's, a lot of these classes I would consider kind of throwback classes, if you will, classes that were back in the day, but they've gone by the wayside as we've done more book learning in
like
schools.
civics.
Like civics. There you go. Let's do one with a modern twist here. How about the social media safety? You know, with all the social media that's going on right now and all of these people that are finding themselves susceptible to fake news sites, finding themselves susceptible to online scams, you know, maybe it's time that we have a class that deals with social media and internet safety.
Yeah. Well, I think that is very important because as these young people are using social media more and more, I mean, that is the number one thing in their life is social media and their smartphones. And they don't have an understanding, all too often, they do not have an understanding of the risks involved with social media. Who they are talking to is not necessarily who is on the other line. Okay, there are people that use fake identities. Yeah. This is a very dangerous place out there.
232-1542. All right, we go to the Cajun Harley Hotline. Caller, you're up. Go ahead. Hello, caller.
Hey, caller. Hey.
All right, we lost that one. All right, caller, you are on the air. Go ahead.
Hey, it wasn't me. I had my radio down. I didn't hear the beep, and I heard silence. I'm like, hey, guys. I didn't hear the beep, then I heard the beep. So, Brandon, that was all on you.
That's all right. All right. What's your suggestion?
We were actually talking about the previous caller.
We're talking on somebody else, but go on.
Go ahead.
Okay. I just got a truck and tuned in. Too bad they can't teach common sense, but one course a caller may have already mentioned it.
What's that?
Easy. Business math.
Business math. Okay.
Business math.
Yes. Teaches basically manage money, even how to correctly write out a check, which checks are becoming obsolete, but I find it's a good skill to have. I mean, it taught me to manage money that, you know.
Yeah, well, Brandon had made basically the same suggestion earlier that money management, you know, basic skills of money management is fallen by the wayside, and it's very important.
Yeah.
Thanks for the call.
Thank you, caller. All right, 232-1542. Caller, you're up. Go ahead.
Hey, is it me, fellas?
Yes, sir.
Yes, hello.
Hey, how you guys doing today?
Good.
Great.
Good. I don't know if anybody said it, and I don't know if they actually still even teach it in school, but sex ed.
No,
you know, nowadays, I mean, I took it in California, of all places, in the 7th grade, and the stuff that they showed us, you know, was pictures of things that just made you never want to do anything.
Oh, I remember that biology class in high school. And
well, no, did you have sex ed?
Well, it wasn't a sex ed.
Okay.
Basically, what he did was he took a couple of days out of
the biology class.
Class, because it was a passion of his. He wanted to make sure that we weren't, you know, doing things with each other.
Well, I like the caller. There was sex education when I was in high school.
Yeah.
And it was a whole course that you took. And
his was a 2-day crash course.
Yeah, this was. But I agree with you, caller. I think that's a crucial, important issue. You know, a lot of these things are because of lack of parenting. All right, you know, it's too bad that we need to say that we need sex education. You know, but we do. Well, I think that's important.
Well, and you know, I went to a private school that I was not, you know, before when I went to public school and had that 2-day crash course, I went to a private school that didn't teach sex ed. And one of the reasons was because they believed that was something that parents should be teaching at home.
Oh, yeah, I see it.
So,
I see that.
You know, that is kind of controversial whether there should be a sex ed class, because is that not something that parents should be having the conversation with their kids about?
Yeah, it should.
Yeah.
It should. However, the problem is that many of them aren't. Okay, many of them aren't having these conversations, and these children are now growing up with a lack of knowledge of some very important issues. So, you know, maybe not mandatory, but an elective.
Thank you, caller. All right, 232-1542. Caller, you're up. Go ahead.
Hi, Brandon. Hi, Shannon.
Hey.
Hi.
No, I like to chime in. I love the show, by the way.
Thank you.
I like to chime in on the subject you're talking about.
Yes, sir.
I like to see a basic everyday living class, basically like what some of the previous callers were saying, but like stuff like to fix a tire, you know, a flat, how to read a tape measure, a level, industrial arts, how to work with your hands, balance checkbooks, writing a check out properly.
Yeah.
You know, things like that. You know, your basic everyday living, a little bit of cooking, how to grow food, you know.
Survival.
Survival skills.
Survival,
Exactly.
basically, urban survival skills. And it's funny you say that because how to change a tire is on my list. And it'd be hard to have a whole class built around how to change a tire, but I like what you're saying because you can partner things like that together
with household repairs,
with basic household repairs. That's exactly right. Basic car repairs and issues like how to change a tire. It goes on and on. How to change the oil in a car? Or
yes, it could go so far. You know?
It could. Thank you for the call.
Thank you, sir. All right, 232-1542. We go back to the Cajun Harley hotline. Caller, you're up. Go ahead.
Yeah, if I would be a teacher, I would make everybody learn how to say blue wave.
Oh, this guy. Oh, man.
Nice. 232-1542. Caller, you're up. Go ahead.
Well, I was thinking of one, like you said, it doesn't have to be something that was taught, but I think that this happens to kids from a young age to an old age, is gun safety. How do you use a gun? A lot of kids find guns. They find their parents' guns. They don't know how to use them because the parents never taught them, or they find one somewhere else, and they wind up hurting themselves, someone else, and they don't know what to do with it. And then they think it's a toy because that's all they've ever known, but actual gun safety courses from young ages up.
We talked about that in the sense of having that on campus. Now, I'll say this. I think with local firearm ranges, it could make for maybe a good business opportunity in the sense of like if schools go ahead and are able to take some fire safety courses at the gun ranges.
Yeah, off-campus courses.
Off-campus courses,
I like that as an elective.
Yeah.
I think that would be excellent for an elective. I think that it would be reasonable to get the parents' approval.
Right.
Okay, because as a parent, I think that's one of those touchy situations. I would have no problem with my children doing it, but I can see a parent having a reasonable argument with a school if you're teaching my child how to use a gun and I don't know anything about it. We'll be right back here on Offsides. Keep those fun calls coming in, 232-1542. Hey, everybody. That's Cajun Harley-Davidson coming at you. Cajun Harley-Davidson now has a new offer called Warranty Forever. Warranty Forever provides a lifetime limited powertrain warranty. This warranty is included in every new and pre-owned bike under 5 years old and is at no additional cost to the buyer.
Also, Cajun Harley-Davidson is the only Harley-Davidson dealership in the state of Louisiana that has the Warranty Forever program. Regular maintenance is required, so make sure you go into Cajun Harley-Davidson and discuss the details with one of the awesome sales team members.
Yes. All right, so we're having a great conversation. Today's the first day of school, and what we are asking is what class do you think should be mandatory for students to take? That is not, that could be a real class that isn't mandatory, or a throwback class, as Brenda was mentioning before, classes that used to be offered that aren't offered, or a class that you have just created. They've got some pretty creative suggestions coming on some phone calls today.
Yeah.
And so got some people been patiently waiting. We appreciate that.
All right, let's go ahead and get one of them on. Caller, you are on the Cajun Harley hotline. Go ahead.
Hello?
Go ahead, caller. All right, caller, you there?
Yes, I'm
All right, go right on ahead.
Responsibility.
Whew, okay, no, we can't do that. Call us back,
man, we
caller.
can't hear you. Call us back.
We're running in a very rough area. All right, caller, you're now up next. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. I was just calling to talk about somebody had called earlier about a tire that they couldn't change.
Well, they were saying basically that classes should be taught in showing you how to change a tire and other kind of survival things.
I agree with that, but let me tell you something.
Okay.
Before I even got my driver's license, I knew how to change a tire, and I tell you that's one of the essential things you ought to know how to do. If you got your driver's license, you ought to know how to do that. And listen to me. And I'm going to tell you something. I was fortunate enough we owned a dealership, and one of my cousins, he had been there for years and years and years, and he never knew how to change a tire because he was so small. But my point is this: you need to learn how to change your tire.
Yeah, I'll tell you something. Doing it nowadays with newer cars, it is difficult, okay, because all the cars have these different types of ridiculous jacks. I don't know if you've seen a jack that you get on a new car, a new vehicle now, but, a jack used to be very big and easy to use. When I say easy, once you knew how to do it, it was reasonably easy to use. Jacks now I find them to be very dangerous looking. Yeah. When you see these little devices, you got to put them right in the right place, and then they're very different with different cars. A jack used to be very universal. They were the same for all cars, and also if you drive a truck or SUV, the spare is now lifted up underneath the car, and so you got to lower it down, get that thing pull through the hole, you line it up perfectly, lower the car, lower it down. But you're right. If you have a driver's license, you should know how to change a tire.
I'll say this. Look, not only though is changing a tire getting a little bit more difficult with the newer vehicles, but I think that these companies are making these cars, these smarter vehicles, in areas where regular people that are just dealing with them have a little bit harder time. I mean, you look at even changing a battery in one of the newer cars now compared to just a decade ago, massively different.
Yeah, it's difficult to do. And it's almost, it seems to me that it's designed to where you have to bring it to somebody.
Yeah.
Right. I agree with you. But you know what? You ought to get out there and practice.
Yeah, good call. Thank you. You're right.
No, we agree with you now, especially when it comes to that. 232-1542. Caller, you're up. Go ahead.
Hey, good afternoon, guys. Forgive me if this has already been discussed, but I was curious as to whether or not physical education is still a required course in all grade levels, especially in high school.
They're trying to get rid of it in some areas, but it's still around. I mean, I don't know if it's a requirement in all grade levels, but it's still in there. Now, what's actually being done in some of those physical ed classes, though, doesn't exactly meet
physical
up.
ed.
Yeah.
Well, I would make that a required course, and in that course, I would teach basic health skills, survival skills, like what to do when somebody's choking or
CPR,
having a heart attack, CPR, just basic stuff like that.
Yeah, I agree. CPR, a basic health class that gives people, young people in high school, a well-rounded information about CPR, about the Heimlich maneuver, about food and a healthy diet and exercise. I think
diet is a big one. Absolutely.
Diet's a big one, yeah. Because that's a big issue because now all these kids are growing up on processed food.
Yeah, I mean, look, nutrition is something that would be a very good idea to be taught in these schools, especially now when we have more processed food, like you just mentioned there, Shannon. But yeah, nutrition is something that, unfortunately, as the obesity rate goes up, it's a class that could definitely be used, is definitely needed.
Thank you, caller.
All right, 232-1542. Caller, you're up. Go ahead.
Let me tell you something. Until we get the federal bureaucracy, all these bureaucrats, these leftist, communist, socialists, out of our education system, pushing it top down and localize our schools, send it back to the states, and even go privatize our schools, it's not going to change. It's going to get worse. I mean, they're already teaching sex education, but it's not the kind of sex education you'd want to teach your children.
That's a good point.
Yeah, you're right about that.
Thank you, caller.
Thank you, caller.
All right, 232-1542. Caller, you're on the air. Go ahead.
I would call this Legacy 101, where the children are on a bus going to an old folks home, and these old folks, they're telling them stories to the children to teach the children that we have one life and we need to appreciate every second of it and to respect others. We don't get that these days.
Yeah. All right.
All right, thank you. All right. 232-1542.
Yeah.
Caller, you're up. Go ahead.
Good afternoon, guys. I'd like to chime in on multiple things if I can. I work in the school system, so just to touch basis on a lot of the things that y'all been covering.
Good deal.
All right.
We do cover civics. That's a required course by the state. I will say this, Shannon. I know you had talked at length about it. Depending on what pathway the student is going, they have the option to supplement other courses
to cover for the civics course, but it's still a social studies course. But it's more in tune with like an advanced placement course, like government and politics or European history. It's more of advanced classes where you would find that those kids that go into those advanced classes pretty much already have a handle on civics. You know, it's not something where they're going to be diminishing their education because they're choosing not to take the traditional civics course. You know, they're so far advanced knowledge-wise, those particular students that take those advanced placement courses, that they have an understanding. And a lot of times the teachers, you know, simultaneously will teach, you know, they're talking about European history, but they pull in ties as to how it relates to the American system and that type of stuff. So they're getting that broader range of schooling in regard to that. With regard to what you mentioned about sex ed, Brandon, we do the 2-day blast in middle school. Seventh grade is usually done. We have a gentleman and a lady that teach the course, and they go around to all the middle schools. The parents sign permission slips. You know, the kids that don't take the course or that the parents don't sign the permission slip for them to go, the teacher keeps those kids and they continue other lessons in science while those other kids are doing the sex ed course. But it's the traditional 2-day blast. Now,
mine was nearly 15, 20 years ago when I was a sophomore in high school. It was a 2-day blast, but it was done by my actual teacher. So the one that you're talking about, have they just recently changed that to a middle school thing? Or, I mean, I know every school system's kind of different, but is that kind of recently changed to a middle school thing?
No, because I've been in the district 15 years and we've been doing it like that. And they've always had one guy and one lady. The lady teaches the girls, the guy teaches the guys.
Yeah.
And they do a 2-day blast.
I like that. I like that. I like splitting them like that.
Well, they split us, too. I want to be clear about that,
when I took sex ed in high school, we were all together in one class. And there were a lot. Awkward. That was awkward for a lot of people.
That's a long
I got in a lot of trouble. Okay, I can tell you that much. I got thrown out regularly. You know, I was intentionally asking the most specific questions I could possibly come up with. But that's a whole other story. Go on.
There's a gentleman that's out of Lafayette that was pushing really hard in the state for it to be a requirement in Louisiana that students would pass the citizenship test, like naturalized citizens have to.
Yeah.
You know, and it was a big push in Louisiana. We helped in that regard to try and, you know, when I was working at central office at the time to try and help him push that through. But the state legislature only required that they take the test as part of the curriculum because some other states like Arizona and I think South Dakota, Montana, they actually make it a requirement to graduate.
Wow.
That you pass with an 80% or better.
I think that's an excellent idea, me personally. You know, I think that is a very good idea, and I would be very supportive of it.
Right, because, I mean, if you look at studies that have been done over the years, they look at the top, I think there was a study done about 10 years ago. They looked at the top 20 colleges in the country regarding civics knowledge and U.S. history and that type of stuff. And the highest percentage was 66%.
Wow.
And guess what university it was at?
Tell me.
Harvard.
Oh, wow.
Harvard University, the highest percentage of U.S. history and civics knowledge was at Harvard University at a 66th percentile. And that was out of the top 20 colleges in the country.
Wow.
Good information.
Yeah, thank you so much for calling.
That.
We appreciate all that. All right, well, we've got to go ahead and take another break right here. We'll get some more calls in afterwards. We got one more segment. Having a lot of fun with this list. 232-1542. We invite your calls.
Welcome back to Offsides, everybody. Shannon Wilkerson here with Brandon Comeaux. And before we get back to the phone lines, let's talk a minute about Red Royal house buyers. If you're facing any situation and selling your home fast would help you, then give them a call. They can close on your house at your convenience.
Look, here are some reasons why you should contact Red Royal house buyers today. First off, they'll buy your house as is with cash. Also, no fees, no commission, and you won't have to make any repairs.
Most importantly, they will close on your timeline to meet your needs. Speak with one of their experienced professionals who can answer all of your questions you may have about the process.
So visit them online at redroyalhousebuyers.com. That's redroyalhousebuyers.com. Follow them on Facebook or give them a call at 337-509-0040. That's 337-509-0040 today.
All right, getting back to our conversation, we got a few more minutes. What we're talking about is classes that you think should be mandatory for people, for mostly high school students to pass to be able to graduate. I'll add one more to the list.
Okay.
I think that having a class on how to apply for a job and to conduct yourself in an interview. I'll tell you, I have participated in many interviews over the years, and I have seen the interviewing skills decline so bad. People don't know how to answer basic questions about themselves, about their skills, about their strengths and weaknesses. And, it is really disheartening when you feel like you've got a strong candidate. You think that somebody has got what it takes to fill a job position, and they cannot get back. They cannot get through the interview. Excuse me. Excuse me. I think that would be something very important.
All right, 232-1542. Before we get back to the phone lines, I'm going to go ahead and put one in on as well. Stress management. I mean, when you talk about the world that we live in, we talked about it a little bit yesterday, Shannon, where you've got all the technology that's around us. Well, you see stress building up in people more and more today because, look, some people are just having a hard time maybe getting away from their job when they've got constant email. You look at kids and teenagers with all the technology and all the stresses that they have in life. And look, their stresses are different than adults, but they have stresses too. And so you see all of these physical problems that are coming out. You see all the headaches, the eating problems, the terrible sleeping at night, the sleep disturbance and all that. Stress management, not only for the problems that they're dealing with as kids and teenagers, but to help them deal with problems when they become an adult. I think stress management would be something good for to teach.
Oh, I agree completely. And I think that stress now plays such a, young people are stressed out differently than they were in generations in the past.
Absolutely.
And I think that it's because of the internet, social media, iPhones. I mean, this is a different type of stress that young people are dealing with. It's all new.
232-1542. All right. Caller, you're on the Cajun Harley hotline. Go ahead.
Yeah, proper way to take notes.
Oh, that's interesting. I hadn't thought of that. That's very good.
The proper way to take notes for their class for future tests.
Yeah.
And they don't teach that.
Yeah, learning skills, developing learning skills is crucial in moving forward in advanced education, or even just getting your education going into high school. I would think that would be an excellent suggestion for freshmen, incoming freshmen, as opposed to seniors. Yeah. Give them some really good learning skills and note-taking skills, as you just said. I think that would benefit them through the high school years.
Well, and it would also benefit afterwards as well. You get on the job, you got to learn there as well.
Oh, absolutely.
Through your employment as well. If you have to sit in on a meeting and you've got to take notes.
Yeah.
Oh, I agree.
Absolutely.
I agree. There's a lot of that. There are a lot of smart people out there that could do a lot better, or they don't do well in school or in a classroom setting simply because they don't have learning skills. You can be very smart, and if you lack learning skills, then you will not advance. On the other hand, if you've got really good learning skills, you don't necessarily have to be very smart.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, caller. 232-1542. You're up next, caller. Go ahead.
Hey, how's it going, guys?
Good.
Hey. I got two of them.
Okay.
The first one was a class that I took when I was in public school. It wasn't a required class, but it was like one of those optional things they do with the gifted program.
Yeah.
And it's etiquette.
Oh, yeah.
Like how to conduct yourself in like a dinner situation or anytime you're in like, a highbrow situation, how to conduct yourself.
We had a great conversation about etiquette, workplace, and in general on Friday, as a matter of fact. So I would agree with you on the etiquette.
Yeah, workplace etiquette is actually one of the things on my list. So, great minds think alike.
All right, 232-1542. Caller, you're up. Go ahead.
Yeah, so I don't know if someone stole my thunder or not, but I was thinking like a really good class would be like a budgeting class, right?
Yeah.
Money management, as Brandon was saying.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Sorry. Yeah, exactly. Perfect. Anyway, yeah, thanks.
All right,
Yeah,
thank you.
thank you.
232-1542. Caller, you're up. Go ahead.
It's me?
Yes, sir.
Yes, hello.
I think a great class that ought to be taught when they get into high school is how to make change without a calculator.
Yeah, how
And
to
you
do
laugh
basic
at that,
math.
but
No, I'm not laughing at you. You're absolutely right. You know, how to do basic math in your head.
Yeah, or just the proper way to make change. Counting change back where you don't even have to add. Just teaching them techniques to make change.
Yeah. Yeah, good point.
I would agree with the caller on that in the sense that, I mean, I see it a lot of times going out to eat somewhere and you want your change back and you can tell they're kind of struggling with it.
They can't figure it out.
Yeah. Thank you, caller.
Thank you, caller.
All right. 232-1542. All right, caller. You're the final one for today. Go ahead.
Going overseas, traveling internationally, and all the fun you can have overseas. I just love to, and also stay with your parents. That's all. If I could go over there and teach these young boys, stay at your parents as long as you can.
Oh, yeah. That sounds like a great high school class, buddy. Thanks for the call.
All right. We got to get one more in after that one.
I agree.
Caller,
Please
you're
do.
up. Go ahead.
Hey guys, I just wanted to chime in.
Yes, go ahead.
I remember back in high school they had what was called home economics.
Yes.
And I mean, a lot of the subject matter you're talking about, they could put it into that class or divide it into 2 semesters, I guess.
Yeah. I remember home economics. I don't even know if that's even offered anymore, and if so, at what level. But yeah, I remember home economics. All the guys wanted to go take home economics simply because the girls were in there.
About the jack being hard to use. Some of the tires, man, they're so big.
Oh, some of the tires, he's saying with the jacks and some of the tires being so big.
Yeah, man.
Thank you, caller.
Thank you, caller.
All right, we do have to leave it there, though. Thanks to everyone for participating, for listening, calling in, all that good stuff. We'll go ahead and take this 22-hour break. Coming up next, Fox News at the top of the hour, and then the Mark Levin Show here on News Talk 96.5 KVEL.